Welcome to the first episode of When Sat in Rosette podcast. This is a podcast where we talk all things football, just like the casual fans sat in the crowd. Today, the podcast is with myself, Aidan Lopman, and Ellis Christou. Boys, if you want to introduce yourselves.
You alright? How's it going?
Hello everyone, I'm Ellis.
Yeah, I didn't know if you wanted to introduce yourself there. He had a bit of a delay.
Aiden just started with
wearing
hi.
a suit, but he's camera shy. So pretty much we're just going to talk all things football today. We've got a few topics, three topics, and then just a little bit of a sort of wild card question at the end, just to sort of go over things that are happening in the world of football at the moment. So first question or first topic we're going to cover today is quite a relevant one. It is Arsenal, the good, the bad, and the ugly of Arsenal's under Arteta. Sort of what's going well, what's going badly, what do you think the problem is? Obviously, you're currently sitting in, I think, 11th or 12th in the league. Last night, obviously, this is being filmed on Friday. Last night, they drew to Crystal Palace at home. 0-0, watched the game. It was poor throughout from both teams. But obviously, you come to expect that from Palace to just sort of sit in. But Arsenal didn't have much more quality. So I'm going to pass over to, obviously, Ellis. He can kick us off on this one, as I know he's got about 15 pages of A4 notes in front of it. We'll see what he's come up with. So Ellis, good, the bad, and ugly of Arsenal. What are you thinking at the moment?
Well, it's obviously been a poor start for Arsenal. And I don't really know where to start, to be honest. There's been quite a few bad things. I'm going to start with something that I think a lot has been spoken about them, and that's just the lack of creativity that they have. I think obviously they went on a little run of two wins a few weeks ago, but before that they were constantly dropping points. And like I said, the whole creativity factor is a huge one. If you don't have someone in your team who is creating and producing some quality kind of in and around the box for people like Aubameyang, Lacazette, to finish off, then it's really difficult to score goals, and they found that incredibly hard. The whole Özil situation is a bit of a crazy one. Arteta obviously has no interest in him playing for Arsenal Football Club anymore. But when you're in a situation like that, I'm sure it was tough for him, especially when the conversation was around creativity. Do you put someone like Özil in the team who's obviously going to give you that, or do you stick to your own guts and instinct and say, no, we're going to get through this. I'm not going to back down and put him in the team just because we need him at this bad stage. I do think Smith Rowe coming in the team has added that. He looks energetic in and around the box. Him linking up with someone like Saka, who's for me been the one standout player for Arsenal, who looks like he's got that bit of will to actually want to win for the football club. So those have been two positive things in terms of bringing in the youth, and especially Smith Rowe in recent weeks.
Yeah, no. Just before I pass over to Aiden, I agree with that. There is a lot of talk, like you said, around creativity in the Arsenal team and, well, the lack of it, not just individually, but as like a collective. And Smith Rowe has come in the last, I think he's been in for about 5 or 6 games consistently now, or something like along those lines. And he did sort of.
I think he started against Chelsea, wasn't it? That was his a good performance there.
He has sort of filled a gap, but it's yet to be sort of seen whether whether he will be what is enough to bridge that gap. Obviously, as you said, Özil, they had him for so many years in that starting lineup. Like, the drop off though in the quality in the squad over the last few years for Arsenal has been ridiculous. They've gone from Sanchez, Özil, Giroud up top, Aaron Ramsey, Koscielny for a bit was like quite a highly rated centre back, and now you've got a midfield three of Xhaka, who started last night, Xhaka, Ceballos, and Smith Rowe. Up top, you have Aubameyang playing left wing. I don't think he's good enough creativity. Like, obviously, Arteta's sort of playing him sort of inverted, so he's not an out-and-out winger out there on the left side. But I don't think the role really suits him. because when he does get on the ball, he doesn't have the quality. So
But he scored goals from there last season, right? Towards the
yeah,
end of last season, he was scoring goals, and people
yeah,
were rating him amongst like the best. And Arsenal fans were like, "We need to we need to get him a new contract, and then
yeah. He scored against
it's
you guys, didn't he?
like something's say that again. Yeah, he scored against us in the cup final.
But that's goals. I've never questioned his ability to score goals. It's his ability to create when he gets in that wide position. So he could be there to score goals, but
Yeah,
he also has, I think, that role as the inverted winger. Obviously, he gets a little bit more of the ball than maybe he used to at Arsenal, where he used to just be the focal point of their attack. And I don't see it working creativity wise. Obviously, as you said, Saka, I think he's brilliant. Um, yeah, I think Saka's probably the only hope in the club at the moment. Oh, and Tierney at left back. But
yeah.
do you on Arsenal? Obviously, just as a disclaimer, both these lot, Aiden and Ellis, are both Chelsea fans. So anything they do say about Arsenal or any other club comes with like a pinch of salt or an asterisk.
Nah, never. Not us. No, I think when Arteta came in towards the back end of last season, everyone was saying, yeah, Arsenal was on the up again. Like they found their culture. That was like getting thrown around a lot. That culture with Arteta. And I don't know what it is with this season. I don't know if Arteta's first like beginning of a new season and his first actual job not being Pep's assistant, and then obviously like I said, the Özil. You what?
Had to throw that one in, isn't it? Everyone always has to link him back to Pep.
Wait, he's learned everything off that, though, isn't he? But I think with the whole Özil situation don't help. Then Aubameyang not scoring goals puts pressure on Arteta at the end of the day. Um,
All right.
yeah, as soon as they got that win after beating Chelsea, they've been on a decent run. I didn't watch the Palace game, but Jamie Redknapp he was like proper boring, didn't he? He said
Yeah.
that proper
Yeah. No,
boring.
it was. You done well not to miss that
I
one. It
think
was a
I
dreadful.
think so. Sorry, Ryan. Just to add, I think with it being Arteta's like first full season as well, it's been obvious that he hasn't been consistently favoured one formation, and I think that Chelsea's lack of form recently shows that as well, where people have been like, Lampard doesn't know his best team. I think that's similar to Arteta at the moment, and they've played five at the back. They've gone 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, and that lack of consistency can sometimes just break up a team, especially with the players as well rotating. It's difficult to get a constant form in
Yeah.
when you are changing it up all the time.
Yeah. Just on obviously you lot. Aiden brought up Arteta specifically. Just really like I've got two questions on Arteta specifically. And since he's coming at Arsenal, one I'll hand this one over to Aid first because obviously Ed, if you went first last time. Um, Looking at Arsenal pre Arteta under Emery, and then now see his Arteta side having like a year and nearly a half, pretty much. Has there been anything that you can say that he's done that has been a success?
If you asked me that before the season started, everyone was saying the culture. Like I said, he brought that culture back to Arsenal. But now I can't think of anything really.
Notably, I asked because pre Arteta, Arsenal were leaking goals left, right, and centre. Like ridiculous amount for any Arsenal team. Obviously, they've always been an attacking team, but under
Yeah.
Emery, they were conceding far more than obviously Wenger and so forth. But I feel like last year their defense did get sort of shored up a little bit when he did come in. Like I remember, what game was it? I think it was again against you guys at the Emirates.
Probably.
Sacked and counter-attacked a little, and they looked sort of had like a good for the first few games. They looked like he just regimented a shape into them, and they sat kind of deep. They were compact, which obviously are all sort of principles you want when defending. So I thought that was what I was sort of trying to like see as maybe if you thought that was a success, but then as you said, this year slightly changed. And then the other question, I'll give this one to Ellis. Obviously, Arteta came in as head coach. That was his job title when he first got the job. halfway through last year. But over the summer, I think it was, or early this season, he took the role as manager, which obviously there is a difference between head coach and manager, where head coach, he was just on-field sort of roles. He had just on-field responsibilities, so the coaching the team. But now recently, obviously, he has the run in the club, pretty much has full oversight in most managerial aspects. So do you think that was a smart move from Arsenal? Do you think it was the right time to give it to him? Do you think maybe that's a reason for, as Aidan said, this season, the sort of the drop off? Do you think he's sort of been overwhelmed with the sort of responsibilities he's been given, considering he's such a new coach?
I think whether it was the right move is, I mean, obviously because of their form this season, it would be obvious to say no, it wasn't. But I can understand why they done it and their thinking behind it. Like you said, he came in and he kind of like calmed the football down, more defensive, steered the ship a little bit more when they were in a bit of a bad place. And I think his main goal was to come in and just get results and kind of start building a philosophy. Obviously, during the summer, the board have said, okay, first full season, he's got a whole summer. He's done what we wanted him to come in and do. We've won a trophy. Let's give him that role now where he does have more of a part of the club and more of like a managerial role over players, probably a say in contracts. And I think that was their thinking behind it. Whether it was the right one, was it too fast, too soon? It's looking like that way a little bit, but I don't think he would have turned it down or anything like that. Like when you're head coach of a club, you are the manager. So I think it was all planned out like that.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Do you got anything to add on that?
Yeah, so when Harry won the first trophy, the question is, was he the first manager to win a trophy since Wenger?
Yeah.
I don't remember Emery winning a trophy, isn't he?
No. Yeah, he was. They didn't win a trophy under Emery.
Nah, yeah. But then, how long was he in charge for in that FA Cup run? When did he come in? What round were they in?
That's good, isn't he?
I think he had. No. He had a decent amount of time.
Okay.
He had a decent amount of time.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on the time scale when he came in. Just on, obviously, Aidan brought up the fact about culture within the club. And again, when he first came in, it looked like it was on the up. I was listening to a podcast that's put out by The Athletic with a journalist called David.1, I think that's how I pronounce his name. I know I'm shouting out another podcast. But no, it's really good if anyone does listen to it. And he spoke about the fact that over the course of the summer, like there was a lot of issues going on at Arsenal behind the scenes. Obviously, as you mentioned, you had the Ozil situation. You had a few like sort of high officials sort of within the club leave. There was sort of a change there, like I said, in the hierarchy. Arteta got bumped up a position status wise, so there was sort of a lot that happened in the change in the culture of the club. And he does say, obviously he reports on Arsenal week in, week out, so his like sort of sources within the club does say that the culture hasn't sort of improved, and it is a big factor that they're struggling to sort of deal with like a lot of players being unhappy and things like that, and the blend of it. And obviously the way they sort of go about their transfer business, they have a sort of a policy where they sort of rely on a few sort of agents for their players, hence why they always buy ex-Chelsea boys. And there are a lot of issues that Arteta has to sort of comprehend. So despite Arsenal's lack of form and the sort of standard they're playing at this season, I don't think obviously the buck sort of falls at Arteta's door, because for a new coach to go into a club like that, which sort of post Wenger sort of having a little bit of an identity crisis, it is tough. It is tough. But
just adding on from that, right? I do think they do lack leadership within the actual team as well, and that's huge for any team that wants to be successful. If you look at the teams all over the world of all time, they've got at least one in there who can kind of guide the players on the pitch, and it doesn't look like Arsenal have that at the moment as well.
Yeah, that's a good point. How long will it be really until Kieran Tierney gets the captain's armband? If Bellerin leaves, Aubameyang struggles.
Tierney should be skipper now. He should be.
How long has he been there? A year, and he's already Arsenal captain.
He should be skipper. He should be.
Anyways, just sort of moving off from Arsenal now and on to sort of the second topic of the day that we're going to look at is obviously this one was sort of posed by Ellis in our group chat, sort of the direction we want to do in this chat. So Ellis, do you want me to introduce it, or are you happy to sort of lead this one?
I can go on to this one, mate. Yeah, I can take the reins. So what I want to discuss now, we spoke a little bit about Arteta coming in and kind of like Arsenal were conceding a lot, and he put that as kind of like one of the top focuses to sort out the defensive issues. So what I want to go on to is put a question out to you guys: that do you think that the standard and the level of defenders has dropped like in the modern game in recent years? Has the level of defending gone down? Ryan,
You're going
what
to
do you
me
think,
when
mate?
you got a centre back in the chat.
Oh, I'm not a centre.
Yeah, best till
What are
last.
you talking about? You're one of the most versatile players on the screen.
I knew he'd fight on that one. I knew
You
he'd
can do a
fight.
job. You can do a job as an half.
Sutton United's finest. No, I think it is a good question, and I know it gets debated like a lot on Sky because obviously you got Gary and Jamie Carragher, sort of both defenders, but it's a tough one to sort of gauge because football obviously develops, and the sort of what you ask of a centre back does change. So where you sort of compare today's centre back, let's say, obviously but let's look. If I'm looking specifically at centre backs, what do you expect of them today compared to the likes of Jamie Carragher back in a few years ago, even like 5-10 years ago? Is completely different. Back lines tend to be a lot higher. Teams push up the field. Football's a lot more of a pressing game now rather than obviously Jose Mourinho and a few teams like that sort of sit in. Don't get me wrong, but majority of the time you've got to put pressure on the ball. You sort of got to get tight to your man rather than sitting in. So they aren't covered and sort of supported as much in the game style. So it might sort of just expose them a little bit. Like again, if I use Jamie Carragher as an example, everyone would say sort of out and out defender, sort of no nonsense, keeps it simple. But whenever he pushed high, like there's a clip that Sky always show when Thierry Henry absolutely rinsed him down the left. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And literally, like 2 players run past Jamie Carragher, but that's because he's so high up the pitch. Because he's playing right back in the game. Although yes, he's a centre back, but if you're high up the field and there's plenty of space in behind you, 1-on-1 with a forward is going to leave you exposed. So, is it a matter of are the individual players worse, or is what's being asked of them sort of counterintuitive to what we expect a defender to do? And for me, I think it's the latter one. The games come on, it's a little bit faster. Players are a little bit smarter, and you also have the point to take into the fact that are the attackers better? So are they showing the defenders up more? Are they sort of pouncing on mistakes quicker? Are they more aware of where positioning and things like that with analysis? Like there's so many things that influence a defender, but the likes of I don't know if defending specifically got worse 1v1 like player wise, because obviously you got like Virgil, Sergio Ramos. There are still top defenders out there. So I'd ask the centre back sitting next to me.
Go on, Aid, over to you, mate.
No, I completely agree with everything Ryan said. I think the mentality of some of the defenders has changed. Like if you go back and look at some of the old school defenders like John Terry, like Jamie Carragher, those ones. If you see, or like Vidic, If you see them concede a goal, they go absolutely like ballistic. They're fuming. But then now, if you see defender concede a goal, it's not like I feel like they don't care as much conceding a goal because they know they can go out and outscore the team or something like that. I think it's more so the mentality of the defenders.
Why is that though? Because that seems like more of a mental state, not like a tactical or technical thing. Is that like? Do you think stuff like wages going up, social media, stuff like that, more distractions for footballers, that the game is losing some top players like the list you mentioned, and someone like Carlos Puyol, who you just always see shouting and passionate, Roy Keane. Are they losing those sort of players due to like distractions that are in the modern day, right?
I agree that there's a lot more distractions in the modern day game, but I don't think it influences their passion for the game. Obviously, player to player, it might do. Obviously, people have different reasons for playing, but I feel like just because you can physically see someone like get excited about something or get aggressive, and you can see someone that doesn't, I don't think that means they're more passionate than someone else. Do you get what I mean? So, for example, let's say me and Aid are playing in the game. Aiden might be screaming after we've conceded a goal, but and with Aiden at centre back, we might concede a goal. But I might not physically show it. Like you might not be able to physically see my sort of passion and my aggression and things like that, but it could be in me. Like I might show it in a different way. So I think yes, they are more distracted, but there are more distractions. But I don't think passion's dropped. I think maybe just
People show it in different ways, isn't it?
say that again, sorry, Abe.
Like people show it in different ways. Like the old school defenders would show it by shouting and everything, barking. Now, like maybe more.
And modern day centre back might sort of just be like, like put it more positively rather than aggressively. So they might be like, oh, boys, come on, we've got to do better. Yes, obviously they'll still scream and shout occasionally, but they might then show it through their performance, or they might just sort of be calmer than sort of the ex-pros. Like a lot of pros now obviously get sort of trained in a lot of things like media and things like that, and they're more aware, as you said, of their status. So they're not like you're just a local boy that plays for your club that's made it pro. Like you've worked your whole life and you know exactly what you need to do and don't do. So you've got to sort of build an image. So there's a
I'd have to disagree with you boys there, unfortunately. I think when you look out on a football pitch or you watch a game, you know who's there for the right reasons, the competitive reasons. I think a lot of the most competitive and passionate players just wear their heart on their sleeve, and they show it, they express it. They want to show the fans that they're fighting for their football club. So I think, and if you go through the years, you see, if you're going to list the top 10 hardworking, like literally willing to die on the football pitch, it will be pretty much the same list rather than I don't know. I couldn't name any other players that I don't know another way you can show passion and commitment to a club than just leaving it all out on the field and really showing what you're about.
Yeah, I get that point, but then if you look at someone like at the highest level in the game, look at Messi.
Good point.
He's hugely passionate about Barca to the fact that he could have forced the way out this summer by taking them to court, but he loves them so like he claims that he loves them so much that he wouldn't want to do that to his club. Very calm on the pitch, very calm. Even when he gets kicked in the air, he shows the passion when he scores. But when he goes down, when they go 1-0 down, you don't really see him sort of calling out players, arms in the air, like screaming and shouting. He'll get the ball and then he'll show you his passion and his drive on the ball. Obviously, that's like a 1 in a million chance that you're a player like him. But I think there are a few players like that do show it in other ways. Like De Bruyne sort of, I think KDB gets a few, like he gets a mixture. I think he's the in between. So you have like the end of the spectrum. You have like Puyol, We'll make a tackle. We'll be like, yes. De Bruyne that can go either way because you see him screaming at players when their quality's dropped, but then you see him also, okay, he's done that. Let's be calm. Let's get the ball. Let's go forward. And then you have Messi that's sort of chilled. I'm just going to do my stuff and we'll win this game because of quality.
You know that video of De Bruyne where he's shouting at the officials?
Let me talk.
Let me talk.
What about
Silva's dragging him away?
He's been like 3, so he's got that one. He's got the one versus Spurs when Spurs player wasn't back behind the line.
The line's there.
And the one with Otamendi. Have you seen the one with Otamendi versus United? They're 1-0 down in like the 85th minute. Otamendi makes a foul on the edge of the box, and he's screaming at him for making the foul because it was a silly foul to make, and they needed the ball, but he just goes.
That's Otamendi, isn't it?
Yeah.
Aiden.
Yeah.
As a centre back, do you think defenders in the modern game are being asked to do much more in terms of pass out from the back, carry the ball forward? So does that ultimately drop their defensive responsibilities? They've got more to think about than just maybe 20 years ago. Their main goal was you're a defender, you defend. Now, do they have more on their plate? So in that case, it's just common sense that maybe the defending aspect has dropped.
I'd say, yeah, they've got more on their plate, obviously, because they're thinking about in possession as well. But I don't think that's too much to worry about when you're defending. I think just because you've got other things to worry about, like tactics when you're on the ball, I don't think that should count out your defending. Because at the end of the day, everyone says it still to this day. If you're a defender, first and foremost, you're out and out defender. Your job is to stop the ball going in the goal. Right. So when they lose possession and a goal can be scored, they can concede a goal. They'll do everything they can to stop it. But I think when you say like if they've got too much going on, so the defending isn't as important, or like it's not in their mind as much, I don't think that's true, because they want the clean sheet at the end of the day. They do want to keep a clean sheet.
Everyone wants a clean sheet when they got a clean sheet bonus.
Exactly. I get it.
Ryan, just to finish off, is there an argument for the opposite, and actually modern day defending is a lot more better and tactical than before? I mean, you see a lot of teams now adopting this high press and kind of, I know like 70s Ajax team like did the press, but it was more a bit chaotic, like everyone just running to the ball. Nowadays you see it a lot more tactical, setting traps, closing, passing lanes down. Are we actually seeing an evolution of defending where this is the modern day defending is better?
Better is hard to say.
That's a great question, by the way. Got to give it to me. That's a great question.
The vocab you came up with there, I was like, that is the vocab.
That's why he's there in the suit. Just quickly, because I am conscious of time. It's a good question. I think it's hard again to sort of say if it's better. I think in terms of the individuals and that, I think you're right in the fact that they're asked to be more tactically aware. They sort of got to cover a little bit more space, with a lot of teams sort of asking more from attacking role for their fullbacks. So they got to, historically, centre-backs sort of stay within the parameters of the box, width-wise, but now they obviously get dragged out wide, things like that. So I think they are asked to do a little bit more tactically than they used to, depending on obviously who you work with and things like that. But I think maybe there is an evolution, whether it's a better evolution or a worse evolution. It's too hard to say, because football, as I said, football changes so much, but they are asked to do a lot more, I think, than they were previously in previous years. So yeah, just obviously because I'm conscious of time, we'll move on to the third question now. All right, guys. So with the sort of third topic for today's podcast, before we get on to the sort of finisher, we just want to sort of look at the sort of rule changes and regulation changes that are sort of being floated around football at the moment. Obviously, some have come in with the likes of VAR, You've got during restart, you had the 5 subs, and that is in, what is it, the EFL, in the cup, in the Carabao Cup, you're allowed 5 subs still. Do you think that should be added in to Premier League fixtures at the moment? Obviously, it's people like Jurgen Klopp is bringing that up. And then the final one that we sort of going to touch upon is the idea of the European Super League. And that also could tie into sort of Project Big Picture that got released last year, and your sort of thoughts on that. So to start with, Ellis, any of them topics you want to shoot and start the conversation off with, more than happy for you to sort of kick us off.
Which way? We'll just go in order from what you said them. So you started off with VAR, yeah?
Yep, we did.
Yeah, so VAR, a very controversial
He's reading
thing that's been talked about. No, I'm not. It's up here, mate. It's up here. It's been a very controversial thing that's been talked about a lot this season. It's been getting a lot of negative connotations, right? And I'm not for that. I'm for VAR. VAR, my lord. I'm for VAR. I mean, listen, anything that gets the game more fair and more accurate, I mean, how can you be against it? There's been a lot said about kind of stopping the game and not letting it run. In my opinion, I actually like the stoppage in the game. I think it makes it a little bit more entertaining. I think everyone's on the edge of their seats waiting for a VAR decision. You're looking with the lines. Is it? No, yeah. And then the decision is given. I like VAR, and I think anything to make the game more fair. The last thing you want as a fan is to see your team lose a game or drop points for a bad decision. And I think VAR counters that.
Okay, just
but I can tell by your reactions that you lot aren't on side of me.
Wait. Before I move over to Aid, one question with the lines. When they come up on your screen, do you understand them?
Yeah.
You make out
is that a thing?
When the line is like that, and then there's one going up, one's dotted, one's red,
so
one's blue.
Do you want me to explain it to you, mate?
Here we go. The founder of VAR.
So they put a line where's the last
the last body part
action from the defender, and then they put a line where is the last action of the attacker, and then the line up is just to make sure that there's no armpits over the line or anything, because if it's just the two lines, it's with your feet, but they need to see if your arm or your head's across that line as well.
Aid, following on from Ellis, obviously you can see Ellis is thoroughly in support of VAR. Sort of, what are your thoughts on it? Do you agree with it?
No, I don't like it. No,
not a fan.
Even just on that, about if like an armpit or an arm or a header is offside, like no footballer going to help that. Like that's just the way you're running. So when you're running, you have to do this.
So you think it's a little bit? You think it's a little bit too strict?
Yeah, it's too strict.
Yeah, there is a big debate about that. Again, I think Carragher and Neville had that debate about whether it is too strict and whether there should be sort of like a window of leniency, where there should be like a period that, let's say, like it's your toe and you're only like a centimeter ahead because. Yeah.
It's offside. It's offside, though.
Okay,
no, but that's
it's offside.
You'll go on all day, but
that's just the shoe size.
Yeah, if you've got bigger feet, you're in trouble.
Got bigger feet, and
how about
he's going to be offside?
How about this? They get paid 250 grand a week. Time your runs, mate. Time your runs.
Okay, but generally, Ellis, you sort of touched upon the offside, with it sort of being good that it's strict with that, and this, or kind of making the game a little bit fairer. But it's not just VAR doesn't come into play just with offsides. So you still have obviously handball, the penalty decisions, and since VAR's come in,
been way more penalties, isn't there?
Yeah, but some of them are still very questionable. And some of the ones that get overturned, some of the red cards that get given and still get given when they assess it, it is weird. And obviously, They did make a slight change, didn't they? At the start, they weren't letting the ref, well, not weren't letting him, but refs weren't going to look at the little off-pitch screen on the halfway line. It was just done through their ear. They had the option, but they just weren't using it. And then now, more recently, if there is a decision, so like as we were talking about Smith Rowe, he got sent off in the FA Cup, got overturned, goes on to score by looking at the screen. Do you think the fact that VAR is in the game, Ellis, because you're in support of it, do you think that referees now that are more concerned about kind of overruling their self, that they sort of just go with whatever decision they thought of? Or do you think, okay, that, or
I think. Go on.
That, or do you also think they're losing a little bit of credibility by the fact that their decisions are getting overturned quite often?
Okay, I think number one, referees have always been under a lot of scrutiny from fans, from coaches, from players, and if this is helping them out a bit, then I'm all for it. I think. Listen, you said about some controversial decisions, handballs and penalties, and you're right. They did change some little tweaks. Like, listen, this is still an early process. It's the beginning of it, so there's going to be little tweaks involved. I think just going back quickly to the offside rule as well and arms and stuff. I think there needs to be some tweaking in there, some official ruling about arms and stuff like that being offside. But overall, I think that it's helping the game. And sorry, there was a second part to it. What was the other part of the question?
Do you think referees and officials are losing a little bit of credibility because the fact that so many decisions, offsides, penalties, handball decisions are getting overturned?
I think, listen, it's a fast-paced game, okay? And for one man on the pitch to get every decision correct is incredibly hard. Are they losing credibility? Maybe from lower fans down who don't really follow the game and kind of just watch the big games, maybe. But in terms of, I think any football fan would realize that this is helping them out a lot. And if they can go over and just rewatch a very close decision on a screen and get it right, instead of just like not guessing but kind of guessing, then they would prefer that from them.
Do you agree, disagree? Sort of thoughts?
What about the referees?
Yeah, what did you zone out when Ellis was talking?
I just don't like it. I just don't like it. Because like you can say, you know how you said the same thing about footballers, get time you run, getting paid this and that. They're like Premier League refs. They're elite referees. They should be in the right place at the right time to see the challenge or the handball or the offside.
Wow.
And they've got the fourth officials. They've got linos in their ear talking as well. I'm just not for it. I'm not for it.
Are you?
And like when it makes the fans, it excites the fans. It just kills the spirit, doesn't it?
I missed that last part. Sorry, connection sort of went.
I was saying about like when you score a goal, the fans start celebrating, and then they're like, "Oh no, we've got to wait for VAR."
Yeah, it does. Yeah, there is a lot of talk about referees at the moment. I know Klopp brought up a point about, and a lot of fans are bringing up the fact that United are getting multiple penalties, a lot of penalties, and you mentioned it earlier. And as I was looking down, I just pulled something up that got sent to me earlier in the week about Mark Clattenburg. Obviously, he's retired now. He's not retired.
He Jurgen or something.
Say that again.
He said something to Jurgen, didn't he?
Yeah, so he's obviously left the Prem now. I think he's reffing in China or somewhere in Asia. He went to ref for a bit. And he came out and said, according to what I was sent, was this is regarding Klopp. He does not like losing. He never has. He gets prickly, but he is wrong to suggest there's an aura around United, an aura that seemed to give them favourable decisions. There used to be when Fergie was there, but it has eased massively since he left. He said he's the only ref to give 3 penalties to opposition at Old Trafford, and that was for Liverpool for all teams in 2014. But David Moyes was the manager, and he said that wouldn't have happened most likely if Fergie was the manager. So there is a big debate about whether refs sort of, there always has been, isn't it, whether they they look favourably on things. So obviously with a system like VAR where there's more officials involved in the game and they sort of have a little bit more control, is there a point to say that refereeing decisions could become fairer? Maybe, because obviously you've got a ref in the suite that can sort of be like, well, obviously it's hard to take bias. Obviously, generally when you're involved in football, you tend to like things, you don't like things, you like him, you don't like him, you like that team, you don't like that team, regardless of the teams you support. So having that ref in your ear, does it maybe sort of make them second guess whether there is a bias, or even obviously just make things a little bit fairer potentially?
But then what if that one in the ref's ear? What if he's got a bias? So if there should be something to go back and check on, he don't say it.
Yes, a valid point.
Sometimes when I watch games, I'm like, how come that hasn't gone to VAR?
Yeah,
I think it's a blatant mistake. But well, I'm just not for it. And then like especially in the FA Cup, when there's like the lower teams, when they're at home, they obviously can't have VAR. But when the Premier League teams are at home, they're allowed VAR. I think for the FA Cup, I think VAR should just be scrapped.
Yeah, I don't know about scrapped. I think it's definitely here to stay. They'll just, as Ellis said, it's early days, so it will just continue to get tweaked until it's at a position where it's what's required. Just obviously we spoke about that for a bit. Let's move on to the 5 subs. Again, Klopp is involved in this one. Historically, 3 subs max, smaller benches. Now clubs have seen what it's like to have the extra 2 to push them up to 5. Do you think it should be here to stay? Do you think it has a benefit to the big teams, the smaller teams? Because obviously at the moment the most vocal about it, I believe, is Liverpool with Klopp, and I think Solskjaer spoke about it as well, wanting for having an extra 2. So what are your thoughts on that? Should it be implemented? Sort of who gets a benefit for it, and why? Why is it good? Why is it bad? Ellis, you want to go with that one?
Yeah, I've stayed quiet there and waited my turn because I cannot stand Jurgen Klopp. Like he is the biggest whinger, moaner, sore loser going. And some of the stuff he comes out with, oh mate, I can't stand him. I honestly can't stand the guy. And all this stuff about Man United penalties and all of this, mate. Mane and Salah fall over in the box at will, mate, whenever it is. And he's talking about other teams trying to win penalties. I can't stand him. The 5 substitute thing as well. The 5 substitute thing as well. He's going on about injuries and all of this. Yeah, because his team is have had injuries, especially to one of your top players like Van Dijk. He's going to moan about five substitutes. At the end of the day, it favours the big teams, in my opinion. Look at a squad like Liverpool. Look at a squad like Man City. They can make 5 substitutions against a team like Burnley or Sheffield United during the game. That's basically a different starting 11. So it favours the big teams. And I think I heard when Gary Neville and Carragher were having a debate about it, I think Gary Neville was right. Jurgen Klopp's just trying to get an advantage, and can't stand the geezer.
You might want to loosen your tie over there, mate. You seem like you're hot under the collar.
Nah, I'm good.
Aid, before I sort of have my say on it, and sort of go back and forth, you got any thoughts? Or you agree? You a fan of Jurgen?
I quite like the 5 subs. I quite like them. I mean, it obviously does favour the bigger tip. What's he doing? What now? Wait,
Ellis, you're showing your dandruff off. Put your red away.
No, it obviously does favour the bigger teams because they've got obviously a better squad depth, so they can bring on better quality players. But no, I just quite like the idea of it. From a player's point of view, I quite like it.
Okay, just to play devil advocate to the argument that it favours the bigger teams, I get the fact that obviously they got more chance to bring on subs. They have better players, or in theory they should have better players because their squad's bigger. They got the finances and the lure to bring in a bigger squad, better squad. But let's say you are who's struggling. Let's say you're Sheffield United. Yeah, you're playing Manchester United. You're 1-0 up. You've used all your subs and your legs are going because you put so much into the game. Having them 2 extra subs to freshen up 2 key positions is a big chart, like big for the game, because often when they are playing the big teams and they do get in front, it's just a matter of time. The team wears them down. You hear them just keep the ball moving, keep sort of knocking on the door. Someone will get tired. Last 10, 15 minutes, it opens up. You score 1, you score 2, they win 2-1 in a game like that. Could having the 2 extra subs be a benefit for the fact that it will save your legs? You might go you might go 3 at the back because for whatever reason, you already have the 3 anyway, but you can change 5 players in a team of a 10 outfield players. So half the team you can freshen the legs up. It could be beneficial for them in that way.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. From a player's point of view, I quite like the idea of it. You've been there when you're absolutely done. You've got nothing more to give, and you've done your 3 subs. You have to sit it out. You have to run through that cramp. It's not a pleasant feeling. So I quite like the idea of having 2 extra subs, because obviously, like you said, it does help.
Yeah.
If you are winning, it does help see out the win potential.
But also,
so, what have you got to say?
Sometimes you got to dig deep, Hayden, mate. You just got to go that extra 15 minutes, mate. Come on.
Run into it hurts.
You're cramping after the hour mark. Come on.
But also in the fact that I get why the bigger teams want it as well, though, because they do play more games a season. Yes, they have a better quality squad, and their squad does tend to be bigger, but they do play more games. They got Champions League responsibilities. They tend to be in the cups longer than most teams, so they compete on so many fronts that, especially in the season like it is now, where it's so condensed with games here, like literally playing. Like Arsenal played last night, they play Monday. Like it's a quick turnaround. I do get why Klopp. I'm team Klopp, unlike Ellis, so I do get why he sort of is calling for it. Ellis, you want to come back with anything, or you gonna stay silent again?
I just think going from your kind of case study is, number one, how often in the league is a team like Sheffield United going 1-0 up against the big 6? Like, I don't think it's a big enough point to say
the game of marginal.
I need to hold on. And they can change those 2 defenders or whatever, but then when you're up against a team that can change their whole front 3 or whole front 4 or 5, if the 5 substitutes is in place, I don't think it equals out. I don't think it's fair, and you can hate me or you can love me, but that's my opinion.
Okay, boys. Moving on to sort of the last point within this sort of topic. Recently, there's been a talk about sort of a restructure, both in the Premier League and European competitions. A lot of the big clubs around Europe are asking for a European Super League, not the Champions League, Aiden, a European Super League. So it's pretty much where, in the shortest terms of it, the big teams want to play against the big teams more often. And they sort of want to be put into an elite competition where it's sort of done on a league basis. I think that is what the plan is. Just because they're a little bit tired of the Champions League. I think a few teams are, because you do always get that odd team that gets in it each year, then plays the group stage, gets knocked out, goes into Europa. So what do you think a European Super League is sort of the way forward for football? Do you think it will have a negative impact on competitions like the Champions League and like domestic leagues? Obviously, both being Chelsea fans, you would probably presume Chelsea would be a team that competes in the Super League. more often than not. So would you be for it? Would you be against it? Against it as a fan? Ade, you can kick us off, mate.
Um, I'm not sure on this one, but I think like I said, I think it would take away from the Champions League being special. I think it would take away that sort of excitement of the Champions League. Um, with the amount of competitions that teams play already, like the FA Cup, the Carabao Cup, the Premier League, if you're in Champions League, and then another league where you're doing lots more travelling, probably like week in week out. I'm not for it. From a fan's point of view, I'd love to see it because then that's just like all the top teams playing against each other week in. It's a big game every week, but no, I like to see it.
Before we move on from you, Ade, just I think from what I read, the plan would be that the domestic leagues get a little bit shorter.
What, the Premier League wouldn't be as
Yeah,
long?
so they obviously reports were leaked regarding Project Big Picture, which is also linked between the big clubs, and it didn't regard the European Super League in it, but a lot of the big clubs, including Barcelona around Europe, want their domestic leagues to be made smaller, so to like 18 teams, so they have less fixtures. It's a higher quality, so then they can sort of add the fixtures on into the Super League. Also on that regard, I don't know if they'll double up. So you're talking about fixture congestion sort of thing. I don't know if there'd be Super League and Champions League. I presume there wouldn't be.
Oh, they get rid of the Champions League.
No, I think it will be played, but I don't. I think the teams.
Oh, and they won't be in it.
Yeah, maybe not. They might play in both. It wouldn't surprise me if they play in both, but um, I think that's the plan, that they would sort of get rid of certain things because Project Big Picture wanted to remove the Community Shield and the Carabao Cup from the Prem sort of teams. Ellis, for or against it? Ade is Ade, were you for it?
Nah, again.
Against it?
Yeah.
Go on, Ellis. I know you got some
Um,
notes on this.
no, I didn't get this far into it, to be honest. But as a fan, as a football fan, I'm a dirty, greedy fan, and I just want it all. Just give it to me.
Typical Chelsea.
Just give it to me. Like, I'll take it. What? Oh, Chelsea, Barcelona every 2 weeks? Yeah. Oh, go on then.
Go on then.
Real Madrid, Man City this weekend. Oh, go on then. I'm up for it, mate. Listen, and to be honest, I think I think it will happen. I think at the end of the day, football's a business, and how is that not going to sell? You know,
Yeah.
how are clubs not going to look at that and think, oh yeah, this is a chance to make more money? And I think it will inevitably happen. I think as well as more teams are like we had City recently going under investigation by UEFA. I think if that continues to happen as well, more teams like City are going to look to another league like the Super League to compete in. So I think that's a big point as well, and UEFA have to be careful in the way they work their way around it. But I'm for it. Like, it's more football at the end of the day, and people who are paying for like Sky, BT, Amazon to watch football, like every month they're paying 3 different bills to watch football. Who wouldn't want more football to watch, you know?
Yeah, I get the point. Obviously, more football equals more excitement. Obviously, something you love, but there's also a case that the fact that there's so much football on already, and adding another competition where it's the big teams consistently playing against each other, will it dilute your excitement?
Yeah.
If you see Chelsea Barca week in week out, when you see that like 3 years in a row and you play each other constantly, will 2 years time will you be like, oh, it's Chelsea Barca, like, yeah, I'm gonna watch it, but does the
Not as
excitement,
exciting.
yeah, will the excitement get taken away from you?
What would you rather watch? Man City West Brom or Man City Juventus on a
Yeah, but
Saturday?
watching the City West Brom might be what builds the excitement for when City go to Madrid or play Juventus. Do you get what I mean? Because you look forward to that big game. If I see a big game week in, week out, I'm going to be like, oh, it's another big game. Oh, it's another big game. It's like why Sky market Super Sunday. Why there tends to be a big game on most Sundays. And then you have that one weekend where it's all the bottom of like the mid-table clashes. And you're like, oh, that's dry. I can't wait for next weekend when Liverpool play United at 8 o'clock or whenever it is. I think they have to be careful of diluting
You
it.
against it?
Me, am I against? I think it's.
Go on, stop sitting on that fence.
I think Ellis hit the nail on the head. That's going to happen because it financially makes sense. More revenue for the clubs. The big clubs want to compete against the big clubs to see who's the best in the world, and the Champions League doesn't always offer that. I don't think. I think the Champions League could work, but I think it needs freshening up a little bit.
Yeah. What do you think will be more competitive? Like the Champions League, how it is now, or like a Super League? Like a league or like a knockout tournament? Because for me, it's
always more exciting.
Knockout football is exciting because there's a lot on the line. There is a lot on the line, but
also knockout football, if it goes against you one night, that kind of rules your whole tournament, right? In a league, you can kind of see everyone's the top team. You're going to see everyone's playing everyone. You're going to see who's the best team.
Yeah, that is a fair point. But in terms of not this season, because this is the 2021 season, the 21-22 season. So next season, there is another European competition. So you've got Champions League, Europa League, and then you've got 1 second, let me get the name. You've got the Europa Conference League. So this is Champions League, Europa Conference. So the idea is, the thing is, you can theoretically drop from Champions League to Europa, lose, and go into Conference League.
Like that.
But what it does offer is
more
another form. Yeah, it will sort of push the teams that always drop out Europa down. So it should make Europa better in terms of the quality that's there is Europa League quality competing against each other. So you don't have the likes of Leicester playing some team in Uzbekistan that's semi-pro.
Yeah.
And then obviously the teams that go into the Champions League, like the one that was in Chelsea's group this season, what is it? What was the team? The team that like pretty much ain't good enough to be in the Champions League. There's always one or two, isn't there?
Had a green Krasnodar?
I can't remember.
Krasnodar, that's it.
Yeah. So that team will then drop into Europa.
Yes.
So that team drops into Europa and it filters it out. So I think it'll be interesting to see if that happens, whether it makes Champions League a little bit more competitive.
I mean, you could say also with the Super League, it could make the Premier League a bit more competitive for the so-called smaller clubs. Because say if the bigger teams in the Premier League are focusing on the Super League, maybe other teams could go on and win the Premier League. That's
potentially. That's a fair point. Okay, just conscious of time. We don't want this to be too long. It seems like it's my buzz line, isn't it? Conscious of time. Just sort of to round it out, just quickly, I'm going to give you a minute each. 1 minute. Obviously, that's hard for Ellis because he's a waffler. 1 minute. Condense it, Ellis. You got to pick. Give me one team that you sort of have seen this year. Prem team. Let's keep it local. Prem team that you've been impressed with this season for whatever reason, or just one, not even impressed, but sort of one that you sort of stood out to you for doing something maybe unique, or what you think they'll be like in the future that you can see things going forward for. Ellis, you can kick us off.
Okay, you starting the stopwatch?
Yeah. You're 7:56 p.m. Ready?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go for Fulham. Fulham's gonna be my team to talk about. Bit of an odd one because they are fighting for to stay up in the Premier League and avoid relegation. But from that bottom half of the table, Fulham have been my team that I've probably been watching the most in terms of excited to watch. I like Scott Parker's philosophy. He's sticking to it, and the start to the season was rough, but I think that was just some small adjustments to be made, and they have started to pick up a few points, especially against some of the big teams. So we had them draw with Tottenham, draw with Liverpool, beat Leicester, and I think the way they do play out from the back as well is very technical. I think there are gaps in the defence that they need to fill in and maybe concede less. I also think that they're missing, I don't want to say star quality because you don't expect that from a team at the bottom, but just someone in there who can offer that little bit extra, like a Grealish did for Villa last season and is doing this season. I think they just miss that a little bit, and they miss a out and out kind of goal scorer.
You got a minute.
You
You got a minute. You got a minute.
I got a minute left.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So a lot of people were surprised that Mitrovic hasn't been playing in the Premier League, but like I said before, Scott Parker's sticking with his philosophy. He's not looking for a target man. He's looking for someone to play with the ball, make runs in behind, and they're exciting to watch. I enjoy watching them, and I hope they stay up, and I think they will stay up.
Perfect timing. 2 minutes is, I believe, up. Might have gone a little bit over there. No,
is Mitrovic, is he not there no more, or is he on the bench?
he is, but he doesn't
No.
start.
So it's like an Ozil. He's been cut.
Well, he's in the squad, I think.
Whoa, let's not compare Mitrovic to Ozil.
Ellis, good round up of Fulham this year. It is interesting how they're doing it. Aid, you got a team for us?
Yeah.
Here we go. 2 minutes, ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Ellis has said it. Villa. Whenever Villa play, I've always kept a close eye on them because I think they're quite exciting to watch. At the start of the season, they was bang on exciting, like beating all the big clubs. Like I still remember that game against Man U, or was it this season or back end of last season? The game against Man U, Jack Grealish scored that banger. Not him.
Yeah, last
well, whenever it was, and then Liverpool as well, and Jack Grealish. Obviously, everyone loves Jack Grealish. Boy's joke. But no, I've just been impressed with how they play, attacking, fast play, fast build up, and Dean Smith, he's doing well there. I like him. I like Aston Villa.
up to 8.
They made some great signings as well in the transfer window, which has helped them out big time. Bringing it, I know Ross Barkley's out injured, but he looked great next to Grealish. Ollie Watkins up top.
Yeah, their starting lineup's very they've assembled a good
start.
Back to front. Yeah, John McGinn. I like John. Is it John? Is that his first name? McGinn. Him next to in that midfield, like you said, with Barkley when he was there, and Jack Grealish he's a good player. He is. Yeah, no, Aid, I agree. Both teams are interesting to watch. Villa are very good on the ball for a team like Villa, where they were last year to what they're doing now. Fulham are exciting because they don't hate playing with a striker at the moment. You've got Ademola, you've got Ruben Loftus-Cheek there, you've got a few good like young
Cavalier.
Yeah, an exciting team. My team, I'll keep it brief because this call is about to run. I'm going with Southampton. Since they got absolutely spanked by Leicester. What was it, like 9-1, something like that? Hassan Hutul, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, has done a great job. Southampton done well to stick with him. After that loss, he went back to what made him successful. With who was he with before?
In Germany.
Yeah, Leipzig. He's with Leipzig, so he's with the RB sort of franchise, where they play the variation of the 4-4-2. He left that when he came to Southampton, he just didn't see, I think, Southampton having the personnel, I believe, he didn't think it would work. And then after the 9-1, he went back to that. So they're playing a 4-4-2, but it's more like it's pretty much 4-2-2-2, which he's sort of I don't think I've ever watched a team really do it properly. So to see them do that is interesting to see how they make it work. Obviously, Danny Ings has been on fire. They sort of press and hunt for the ball in a crazy fashion, get the ball back quick, move it quick, sort of. They are direct, but it's not like just going long with a ball. They sort of just push the ball forward quicker than most, kind of like Klopp's Liverpool style. Like they find the first pass they see forward, they're going to try and make that when they counter. So it's an interesting one. They are overperforming, I think, this season. They've also got, who is it? Vestergaard at the back. He looks like a different player. On the ball, he's a joke. But under Claude Puel, I think it was, and who was manager before Hassan Hugel, he didn't look like nothing. So I think he's doing a great job there. I had Southampton finishing 10th this year, but they could potentially finish higher. So it'll be an interesting one. Ellis can count on that one. I actually sent you my breakdown of where the teams will finish. I think I'm way off with all of them, but Southampton's probably one I'm close.
Look at that one.
Southampton's probably the only one I'm close with. I think I had
Mate, it's such a good season. It's such a good season. You just don't know at the moment. I hope it stays like. I hope it stays like this the whole way through.
Yeah, I think it will. But no, boys. It's obviously been good. I think we've covered some good points, some good sort of arguments and rebuttals from both of you. We've obviously established that Ellis hates Jurgen Klopp, but is all for VAR. We established that Aidan don't watch anything other than Chelsea, and he's not a centre back, but he is a centre back.
I'm not
I'll stick a link on the YouTube to Aidan's centre back clips. I'll clip them up for him.
There's no clips. I don't know where you're going to find them.
You're not going to know if it's Aidan or Phil Jones.
It's prime John Terry.
Boys, it's been a pleasure. We will be back next week with another podcast coming out next week with a few more different topics. Hopefully Ellis ain't wearing that dodgy suit that he's literally just scrubbed the dust off of.
Professional.
And Aidan's got a better trim. But we will see you next week.
See you guys.
Nice one. Cheers, guys.